Hey there, at long last, Ideal Protein Nation around the world. Welcome to this episode of the Life Possible podcast. This is episode 9. I can't believe it's 9 already. For those of you who may or may not be joining us for the first time, the Life Possible podcast spotlights successful clients, coaches, and clinic owners who have used the Ideal Protein protocol to reset their body, reset their mind, and reset what's possible for their life. These individuals truly had life-changing experiences, and now, as a result, they're pursuing goals and dreams they never thought possible. They're pursuing goals and dreams they thought were dead and gone. They're pursuing goals and dreams they never even knew they wanted to. In short, they're busy living a life that they love so much that they don't feel the need to escape from it. They're living a life that they love so much that they can't even imagine going back to the way it was before. So it's my hope that you will see and hear something in these individual stories to understand that they're just like you. And if they can do it, you can do it. And Life Possible is out there waiting for you. It's my hope that through this podcast, we can reach and inspire as many people as possible with this protocol so that they can change their lives. Well, who am I and why do I want to do this? Well, my name is Dr. John Barnes. And there it is. Yeah, that was me 5 years ago, a little bit more than 5 years ago. I'm the director of Barnes Chiropractic Health and Fitness in Centerville, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. We are an independent authorized Ideal Protein clinic, and we have been for the past 5 years. See, in that first picture 5 years ago, there's no two ways about it. I was fat, sick, and depressed. And I truly believe that God brought the Ideal Protein program to me as the answer to so many of my prayers, both personally and professionally. I lost 45 pounds initially when I did phase 1 for the first time. And, now I feel like I'm living a life that's healthy, vibrant, and alive. Through this personal experience, I discovered that the true power of this protocol is more what it does for us on the inside than anything that it does for us on the outside. And it's been my passion to research and understand this power of the protocol beyond mere weight loss, to reset metabolic health, and further into increase human performance. I'm down over 60 pounds now from my original weight, and I'm living my life possible by training and racing in the sport of triathlon after over 25 years of inactivity. So, who do we have for us today? Today, I'm so excited. We have Wendy White-Stevens. We are traveling to the great state of Texas to feature this amazing lady. Back in 2017, Wendy lost over 120 pounds. That's twice as much as me, over 120 pounds with the Ideal Protein protocol. She is now a clinic owner and coach at 380 Ideal Health Studio in far north Texas, as well as a business consultant in her business Ideal Consulting Guru. I met Wendy when I went to an Ideal Protein continuing education seminar in Dallas in 2019, and I've been amazed by everything that this lady does for her clients, as well as the Ideal Protein community at large on Facebook. Her I am before and after picture, as we see there, was certainly one of the favorites as far as any of the I am pictures that were posted through our website by Ideal Protein. So without further ado, let's bring on Wendy White-Stevens. Hey, Wendy, are you there?
Hey, Dr. Barnes, I am.
Yay!
I know, long last.
At long last, I can see you. I can hear you. You're not Casper the Ghost going in and out.
Right? There was a Wendy with Casper.
Right? I should have known.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. And again, it's been a long, hard fought road to get this episode done, but I know it's going to be an amazing episode, and it's going to touch somebody in the way that we mean for it to. For those of you who don't know, Wendy was in far north Texas, and really her internet access is not all that good in the first place. But when the weather gets bad, it just becomes unbearable. And just about every 5 minutes, Wendy would drop off the picture, and you were stuck with me ad-libbing, which nobody wants that. This show is all about the guest. It's not about me. So without any further ado, I want you to tell us your story, Wendy, because I love the fact that you are the successful client first,
Mhm.
losing 120 pounds doing the Ideal Protein program, and then getting involved as an employee with Ideal Protein for a while, a clinic owner and a coach now, and a guru. Tell us how all that came about.
Okay, sure. I'd love to share my story, the backstory. I was brought into the Ideal Protein community in a way that a lot of us come to the treatment. And actually, back in January of 2016, I made a resolution to get healthier. Didn't really want to start the year off saying that I was going to lose weight. That
Get it
inherently
safe. I
didn't
want to
mean
get
I was going
healthier.
to have a good year, right? So, I was trying something else and doing okay. I had seen a family member online on social media in Georgia attempting to lose weight too. We're about the same age. We both had a significant amount of weight to lose, and we were both making good progress the first quarter of the year. And by the time school was letting out in May, our daughter was graduating high school at the time. I had gone off the rails and I had quickly put back on 30 of the 25 pounds I'd lost. And this family member was still just sailing right along. She looked phenomenal. She, had a whole new glow about her, energy, and I could just tell that she was up to something good. And I vicariously watched her kind of on the sidelines for a little while. And then I reached out and I said, "What are you doing? You look phenomenal, and I can tell that you really feel great." And she then shared with me about Ideal Protein. I took a little bit of time to do some independent research.
like we all do, right?
The skeptical, beat down, middle-aged, overweight woman I was, wanted to see, do I even have it in me to go again, right? Can I do this again? I took about 2 months to decide that I felt like, okay, I could probably handle this. What was important to me is that the testimonies that I was able to find online at the time, the women who were about my age and who had a significant 100+ pounds or more of weight that they had lost, they still, to me, I'll just say they still looked feminine, right? And I really liked that. There was still muscle definition. They were still very shapely, and they looked really healthy, and they were all absolutely over the moon with the way their lives had changed with Ideal Protein. So in true Wendy fashion, I set a measurable deadline for myself, and I said, okay, I'm giving it 90 days. I can do anything as long as I know there's a deadline in sight. And so, that 90 days just so happened to be end of December. So not only did I embark on a 120-pound journey on, September 28th, 2016, I went through Halloween
Season, yeah.
I went through Thanksgiving. We had a road trip. We got an RV and we drove all the way from Dallas to Portland, Oregon.
Oh my gosh.
It took me about 2 seconds to realize clearly I'm not eating the whole way. Not trash snacking and doing those behaviors that we do on road trips. I survived that. We had Thanksgiving. I actually had at the time my 40th birthday. And made it through that. Lots of family member birthdays, Christmas. And I was in my office working that week in between Christmas and New Year's, and my reminder popped up for my 90 days. Because at that point I had set a reminder.
Yeah, right.
At that point I was literally going to evaluate every aspect of my experience, and if I was done, that was my permission to exit stage left. Right. Okay. That reminder went off, and I laughed out loud in my office, and I thought, that is so typical of me. I love it. And then I just dismissed it permanently.
Oh man, you know what? And you haven't even shared that part of the story with me. I think that's so cool, right?
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely. a couple things I want to highlight from the things that you just said, right? So number one, very first outset when you started talking, you called it treatment. From this treatment, right? Which I think is. I love the fact that that's etched in your mind because you're a coach and a clinic owner, and we think of it that way, right? We think of it as a treatment of the cause of weight gain, we think of it as the treatment of the cause of so many health concerns, metabolic health concerns, especially that are being spotlighted today. So I thought that I didn't want people to miss that wording right there. But also too, we've probably all had clients who have done that. I'm going to give myself X amount of days and let's just see how this goes. And because you know what, you just came off, unfortunately, you had just come off another failed attempt. Right.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, you had to even see if you had it in you to try again. And so many of our clients, especially the ones that are just kind of kicking the tires and doing their research, and, that's what they're doing because they don't want to be hurt again. They just don't want it to fail again. And this is a totally different experience, right?
Oh, absolutely. It really is. But it is, it is so defeating and worrisome to try again, but I was really determined. I was at a point where I needed to be living my best life, and I couldn't deny that I no longer was, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of things were happening that were calls to action outside of, diagnosis or anything like that, but they were surely in my future,
Mm-hmm.
And so I mustered up and gave myself 90 more days. And within that 90 days, it was enough for the science to go to work within my body and for me to validate all the reasons why. There was every likelihood under the sun with Ideal Protein that I was going to reach my goal weight.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool about it. And you at least you had that family member, you saw her experience.
Oh yeah.
She didn't stop. She didn't go backwards. She truly just kept going. And it was so amazing. And the other thing that you mentioned too, is that you could tell that it changed her from the inside. Like it changed her whole life. It wasn't as if she was just dropping weight. Like you had mentioned before, dropping weight and not looking right because she's starving weight off of her body.
Yeah.
Being a fat burning, muscle sparing protocol, it's a totally different approach to that weight loss, such that you look healthy and vibrant as we're going through the process instead of looking gaunt and withdrawn like some people do.
Absolutely. We never know what components are actually missing because it's so hard to know the truth when there's so much out there, right? But by virtue of receiving adequate protein, we're monitoring the hydration. You're getting in water maybe like you never have before. You're letting those foods go that are toxic. You're getting the mandatory replacement supplementation for micronutrition balance. And you just can't deny that on the outside, let alone can you imagine what it's doing on the inside if it's visually, there present and able to be recognized?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. One of the things you had shared with me earlier was your life before this. You kind of felt like you had sidelined yourself out of life, that you weren't truly living. You were just kind of on the sidelines watching life go by.
Yeah. It was pretty sad. I have a beautiful family that I'm so thankful for, lots of blessings in my life, but I was literally just living a stagnant existence, and there were things that had become evident to me that I just can't deny, right? I couldn't sit there and deny it. I could make excuses as to why I wasn't doing this or that, or just not participating, right? Like I said, sidelined in my own life and becoming a very passive participant in a very active and beautiful life. That was the biggest thing for me, is I was not a part of memories that were being made while I was living my good old days. And I really wanted to latch onto that. And I knew that ultimately the weight was the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So then talk to me about your transition. So how long did it take for you to lose that initial 120 pounds?
I started on September 28th, 2016. And then I've ended up phasing off the middle of June, which is an interesting timeline. Not only is it phenomenal. Okay.
We'll right.
Say that.
All the holidays, really, almost from beginning to end.
Everything. And I swear, I promise you, Dr. Barnes, I do not reflect on those holidays as, oh, that's the time I didn't, have XYZ. I do know for a fact it was the first time in 38 years that I hadn't had my mom's Halloween cookies.
Mm.
But you know what? I've had them since, right?
Right. Yep.
They're as good as they
Yep.
ever were. So, and it was, I don't know. The whole thing is just always interesting to me. It still blows my mind. And that's why I love it so much. I have this insatiable curiosity and a passion for the protocol because it's so sustainable. And that was one of my biggest worries in that, I didn't deviate. There were no deviations. I knew that I had a couple of things that play with the science in my body and being female that, might end up tainting some of my outcomes. But I was going to be darned if what I did externally, what was within my control, was part of what led to me not seeing what I wanted to on the scale that week. So I just charted the course because everything is so measurable, right? You have a 1-page cheat sheet to make your dream a reality. And I was going to stick to it to the letter. And I never realized how militant I was about it until I started coaching.
Yeah, right.
It was it was what it was. And why, this is where some people get kind of hung up is they're trying to reinvent the wheel. No need. No need. Don't overthink your way into barriers, right? Just stick to it. Keep it simple. There's a lot of resources out there to keep simple tasty. And, you can really define how long it's going to take. And when I had initially heard, it would take me about 9.5 months to do that. That's exhausting to think of on the front end, especially 120 pounds overweight. You're just like, my gosh, 9.5 months. But then I thought, well, in 10 months, we've got a vacation planned. So clearly I plan on being here, right?
Yep.
And I know that time is going to pass no matter what. It doesn't stand still for me. And I thought, how cool would it be if we went on that vacation? It was to Colorado, piggybacking on a Boy Scout event. And how awesome would it be for me to be able to enjoy the mountains, to enjoy all of those outdoor activities in a way that I can't remember the last time I had, Yeah.
So no, it's huge. And I want to explore that a little bit because it is frustrating. If I, again, for so many people, if you ask them the one thing, if they could achieve one thing this year, what would it be? And they said, I want to lose the weight that I haven't been able to lose. And so you hand them a page and you say, okay, here is a fail-safe method to do just that. And not to do just that, but to do it the healthiest and quickest way possible. And I love would you say simple can be tasty or?
Yeah, I mean, keeping it simple can still be tasty, right? It's better than chicken and broccoli, right?
And it drives me crazy when we have clients that they're all the time, well, I'm trying to hack the ideal protein protocol. I'm trying to, insert this, discard that. And it just, look, this is it. Yeah. All you got to do is do it. Right. And in fact, the more you don't obsess about it, the more you put it on autopilot in the background of your life and start working on the rest of your life, the better, the easier it is.
Absolutely. And I continually find myself in conversations on the front end of a new client relationship that, hey, don't sit there and, get all glassy eyed wondering how, ideal protein, you're going to fit into ideal protein's life. It's ideal protein fits into yours. And it can be very seamless transition. It goes back to, one of the things that Dr. Tran says in that mindset is critical, right? Yep. It has to be your mindset. And if you have that defeated mentality, the woe is me, or, why do I have to do this? That's the kind of experience you're going to afford yourself. And that is so unfortunate because you're going to miss a lot in the journey if you stay with it, right? Those people go ahead.
For me too, it's like once you start getting those results, man, after week 1, right? If you've clicked, if you checked all the boxes and you've done week, like for me, I didn't even expect, that's the thing, right? I expected to lose weight in the first week, but I didn't expect my digestive tract to clear up, my brain fog to go away, the
Mm-hmm.
energy to come the way that it, and after that I was hooked. I was like, why would I ever do anything to mess with this? I just want to
Yeah.
keep doing this because number one, I feel so great. And look at the results. I don't want to stop this train.
Heck no. And you know what you say about brain fog? You know, my mantra used to be that all I have to remember is that I can't remember. Okay. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I have to remember. And so I have to write it down. And I distinctly remember, you know, I was in a rather intense conversation. I just spit out some facts that it needed to be accurate. And I stopped and I was like, let me just double check. And so I went to my notes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Let's see if I can do that again. So, you know, the brain fog is definitely just even mental clarity. How much could you benefit from that alone, right?
Oh, it was absolutely amazing to me. And I still remember the morning I woke up, and I was just kind of like, "Oh my gosh, my brain's back!" Like
Yeah,
I haven't thought that clearly in years, and it was magical, truly. And I'm
it's
not
unbelievable. I tried to not sensationalize the experience
right.
because it's so unbelievable. And all I can say is you owe it to yourself to attempt to have the firsthand experience, create your own testimony, have your own story, be your own success, right?
There's so many Wendyisms. I love it. I just so and I write this stuff down. I've got Wendyisms all over. I got them on Facebook. I got them as we've been talking over the past couple of weeks. One of the Wendyisms and where I want to go next is the whole idea of breaking down barriers.
Yeah.
You know, getting rid of some of the barriers that are keeping you either from starting the program or that are keeping you from being successful during the program.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, like the stories that we tell ourselves, you know, it's an age thing. I'm too old for this. Let's get rid of some of that stuff.
Yeah, like I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. And I'm like, yeah, what timeout? Like, did you legitimately just sit here and tell me that you're not worth 30 minutes out of your entire day? And I'm not even
Right.
talking all at once, right? Like, I'm talking 5 minutes for breakfast if it's a Monday through Friday situation. If you want to be all fancy pants on Saturday, Sunday, we can get all fancy pants on Saturday, Sunday, breakfast, right?
Right.
You know, maybe 10 minutes the night before to prep your lunch, pick out your ideal protein, have that set and ready to go. And then dinner time, you know, another maybe 20 minutes. The majority of the recipes that I've put together in the last 4 years, you know, as long as my protein is thawed out, I tell people you can be sitting at your table within 20 minutes. Like, I am not kidding, you know? So the time thing, you know, this is what happens when you get to be my age. You feel this way. And I'm like,
Right.
no, you don't.
You don't have to.
I'm like,
That's
how
a
do you know?
lie.
Like really, tell me how you honestly have given yourself a chance to know, like, for sure. So there's a lot of different things. And even if it's just a mental barrier, you know, I can't do it. I'm not strong enough to do it. Well, you know what are your whys? You know, what is your why statement? You know, mine was all encompassing. I wanted to live a healthier life. You know, deep down in my heart, I knew that I was still too full of pain to put down. I don't want to be a size 26. I don't want to struggle for 20 minutes and then have to have my husband's help to get up on the jet ski after I've hopped into the lake. I don't want to not have the energy to fold my laundry. If I want to fold my laundry, I want it to be an at-will thing. You know, it's all those things that really, if we think about it, it's painful, right? And sometimes it's just easier to not even go there. But, you know, again with the Dr. Tran, you know, in an interview that he was in in the Ideal Protein Book Club a couple summers ago. Well, last summer, I think.
Who started that?
That would be me.
Yeah,
Me and Ideal
I'm so
Protein.
jealous.
Yeah.
You actually got to interview Dr. Tran, and you know, so for me, that's like one of those things I got to shoot for. At some point, Dr. T, if you are watching this interview, I'd love to have you on my show. But yeah, what a thrill! I mean, that was so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. You know, and at one point in the interview, He said sometimes people don't love themselves enough to have the catalyst to start to be for themselves. And I was, I can be pulled back into that moment, and I almost started crying during that interview at that time, because it hadn't dawned on me that I wasn't strong enough to do it for myself, because I didn't feel like I was worth it. I just wasn't there, and even though I'm a very happy person, I love life, I still had a lot of baggage associated with my weight and how that was defining me and affecting, my physical life, my mental life, and everything. And when he said that, I thought, that is heavy. And it applies to me. So I kind of had to take a second and quickly collect myself.
Yeah, right.
But since then, I've seen it many times. And you know what? I do step out there with my clients, and I tell them, when they say to me, Wendy, I was going to do this, and then I heard you, or I thought about coming in here and weighing in, and my deviation being obvious, or I didn't want to let you down. And I tell them at that moment, it gives me goosebumps right now. That's such a beautiful moment that I am afforded as one human to another, that transcending connection that Ideal Protein can create. And I say, you know what, I'm so honored and humbled to be the guiding light right now and be that strength for you. One day you're going to be able to do that for yourself. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And I see that transition. It's that metamorphosis that happens on the way to the ultimate goal. There's a ton of little victories and all sorts of goals that happen while we are laser focused on where we're not instead of how far we've come. So it's, it was one of those things that oftentimes we don't start off doing it for ourselves. It's because we want to do more for others, those we care about, those that we love, things that we are interested in. And that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's we talked about this during one of our first interviews. And again, I'm so glad that came back up, because it's such a beautiful response you had. I wish I had that much tact with my clients. Usually it's more like, dude, don't do this for me. Yeah. Okay. Do this for you. I don't want you to do this for me. I want you to do it for you. And you're right. A lot of times we don't feel like we are worth it to make the investment and put the time and the money into doing this. But somewhere along the way, you realize that, wow, this is actually changing my entire life. And there's no better investment I could have made. And like you had said before, too, we all want to live our best life, right? Yeah. We can't give our best. I'll finish it. It's a Wendyism. I'm feeling it, right?
We can't give our best if we're not at our best.
Right.
Right. So it's that, it's that reflective, more of me means more for you, and I love that. And, everybody somewhere inside of them has a piece of a servant's heart, and that is a beautiful thing to be able to give back. And it's so true. And it kind of helps those clients get past this is all about me. Like, I don't want it to be all about me. It can't be all about me. I have those barrier lists, right? I have too many other things going on for this to be all about me. And essentially it's not. Like, you're amazing and wonderful as you are, but this isn't all about you, honestly.
Well, and it was reflecting back to my interview with Dean Kilby. And one of the things I thought was so powerful was he was talking about, the skin bag that we carry around our bodies. We think of it as being ours. And so I can do whatever the heck I want with it. And he said, no, you can't. And no, it's not yours. It belongs to everyone you love. And it behooves you to take care of that skin bag so you can be around for them. And I think that when we see clients, when we see that paradigm shift in their head, it's really neat to see.
It is.
And so, you get them filling themselves up first and taking care of themselves so that they can actually be there for everything that their kids and their spouse and their friends and their parents need them to be.
Absolutely. And that they, what's in their heart, right? It becomes, a shift of free will. And that's very compelling. It leads to a lot of really great experiences. And, it's just a beautiful thing. We both know this.
Right. Well, and like you said, we try not to sensationalize the experience, and we try not to, but it truly is. And then all you want to do is help or save as many people as you can.
Absolutely. And it does happen. There's a ripple effect. And, my story, like coming into Ideal Protein by virtue of a family member, I know that, within my community, we're very active. We've lived in the same couple of square miles of North Texas for almost 18 years. Our kids went through the school system. We're active in scouting when our kids were of that age. So we had a lot of community visibility. And, it's just been wonderful to be able to lead by example. Like it's the kind of gift I never imagined that I would, be in a position of giving. Right.
Yeah. And so tell me about 380 Ideal Health Studio.
380 Ideal Health Studio is an Ideal Protein clinic in a wonderful little town of Aubrey, Texas, just north of Dallas by about 30 miles. We do a lot of great work in a small amount of square footage. It's all about education from the front end, Dr. Barnes, and that's what I lead with. And broken down into digestible snippets and actionable meaning and explanations, and tying it into each individual experience. That's one of the things with coaching is that you can't get the kind of experience that an Ideal Protein coach can offer you by virtue of an app alone, right?
Correct.
Everybody just wants a static little app that
right.
This, then this, then that. That's not the way this works, So I take every opportunity to educate, because that's what I believe leads to long-term compliance in phase 1, and also in the stabilization and maintenance phase. There's not any one of the clients that I've had the extreme pleasure of working with to get healthier that would tell you they did not receive an abundance of education, right? They get the encouragement, they get the love, they get the support, they get some really great fact-based data, based, biometrics and measurements and whatnot. So some undeniable evidence gets peppered in there. But that's what we're doing up at 380 Ideal Health Studio. We're taking it, one community member at a time, and we're loving it.
Oh, that's amazing. And the education, like you said, is so important. It's one thing to have a checklist of things to do and just check the boxes and do it, but it's another to fully understand why it's important for you to do these things. I find if they understand the importance behind it, they're more apt to do it and not even need as much the reminders of the checklists.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. One of the things, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to dig a little bit deeper into it. The whole concept of time. And you mentioned to me that you've been hearing too often about, oh, I don't have time to prepare this, or I don't have time to do that. And so literally you took a stopwatch and you started timing some of those things that we're supposed to be doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
How did that turn out?
It was wonderful. Dr. Barnes, I have to prove things to myself.
Everybody does though, right?
Yeah. And so when I draw a lot of my coaching tools from my own experience, whether I realize they're a tool in my kit yet or not. No, a lot of times clients help me pull out a new tool. But one of those things was, lack of preparedness, which puts us in a very reactive situation, which can easily lead to deviation or noncompliance. And, one of those things for me was understanding the value of preparing my lunch the night before. Okay. Seems innocuous. For some reason, I just kind of had this aversion to associating myself with a meal prepper. I don't know why. It's one of those things that just sounds like labor intensive, a time suck, right?
Right.
So I started small. I was like, okay, let me just see how long it actually takes me. Let me see how ridiculous I am. And let me see how long it actually takes me to put my lunch together for the next day. So I set my cell phone on the counter in the kitchen. I started that little stopwatch. And from beginning to end, I put my lunch together. Never did it take more than 7 minutes. And then I was like, okay, well, let's just see how great this really is. I got 7 minutes, but let's just see if it's 7 minutes well spent. continued validation. There was never one morning that I would come downstairs into the kitchen, short on time, that I was like, oh, bummer, my lunch is already ready in the fridge and all I have to do is grab it and, grab up my Ideal Protein and put it in my cooler bag. I was always like, this is awesome.
Yep.
Okay, 7 minutes well spent. Check. And so,
right.
And I just started doing that with certain activities so I could put a number on it, right? I love data more than I associate with the fact that I do. Came down to me, figuring out how long does it actually take to make a good, viable dinner in phase 1. And literally 17 to 20 minutes, right? And that might even equate to some leftovers too. How awesome is that? Then you'd have it.
Right.
So if you don't think you've got the time, if my clients say, I don't actually get a lunch, and I'm like, okay, are you telling me you want me to believe that you don't have 5 minutes, that you can't get even maybe 3 minutes? And I've got a list, I will send them, of foods that vegetables you can have chopped and just open up your container and eat it, right? No heating up. If you're really that short on time, this is a means to an end, right? This isn't an emotional experience that you need to tie to the food, right? We're going to break that and understand this is a vessel to your weight loss, and it's a part of the treatment that is non-negotiable, right? So set your timer for lunch or your alarm for lunchtime. When that goes off, if you do not have the time right then to stop and have lunch, I understand. You snooze it, right?
Yep.
Snooze that timer, and you're either going to get sick of snoozing it and you'll go get your lunch. Or, give it 4 days in and you'll just go and grab your lunch because you realize that it's 5 minutes and you can even be in motion if you've got to be, right? So it's crazy.
It's all about lifestyle change. It's all about habits. And once you work that habit in there and just do it every day, it becomes a part of who you are. That one morning you wake up and you didn't convince yourself the night before to make that lunch, right?
That might have happened too.
How awful is that, right? But you never regret doing it the day before. Love that. Absolutely love that. So, last topic I want to touch on, because I think it's very, very important. And I think that you've had a neat experience with it. And that's what you referred to when we were talking before as generational health.
Oh, yes.
It's one thing to be able to get yourself healthy, but then it's quite another thing to have an effect on the generation above you, very specifically, as well as the generation below you. And I think that you've had tell us about your experience. I think it's been really neat.
It has been wonderful. And thank you for bringing that up, because it is one of the things that really compelled me to start reaching out, to start, exhibiting my passion. Like, how was I going to share what I knew? Because literally, it was like my pants were on fire. Once the secret was out in my mind, I couldn't not talk about it. I couldn't.
Right.
I was seeing people everywhere that needed to talk to me, right? Like, I have the truth.
but could you go up to them and grab them and say, I've got an answer for you? Or
very few people I could do that with. I'll be honest.
Right. It's so hard. It's so hard.
The first generational vision that I had was with my son. Ideal Protein shares a statistic in the intro seminars where we start with the education, is that kids born after 2001 are 2 times more likely or more to develop a chronic disease such as type 2 diabetes. And it's not, by the time they're 30 and, settling into their adult life, or 40, it's by the time they're 18. Mm-hmm. That hit me so hard because our son happens to be born in 2001. He was a big old Texas boy, right? His dad's really tall. He's a big, tall guy. Yep. And I knew that I had not been modeling good food behaviors, and that he was on that path to some sort of diagnosis for chronic disease at a very young age if we weren't able to intervene, right? If I didn't pick up the parental puzzle of all the things I wanted to instill in him and make sure nutrition and that balance was a part of the education and love and modeling behavior that he received from us. And he did end up losing 65 pounds with Ideal Protein. Pediatrician approved. He was 16 at the time, physically mature 16. And he did chart that course. Kids are the best cheerleaders. And that's what I love when clients come to me with kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got like your built-in team. Okay. That's so cool. They're watching us. Even when we don't think that they're watching us, they're watching so closely. And he had been watching me so closely, and he saw that, I got a new mom, right? Something great's going on with my mom, and I want to be a part of it. And he had expressed interest, and so we'd agreed, after getting him medically qualified, to give it a go, and I was so proud to be able to do that. He was successful. And so that was really the catalyst for my passion in creating generational health. Is that as a parent, we've got to be intentional. We have all these really great family values that we say, I'm going to do this and that. And my kids are going to know this and that. And, somehow nutrition just is not most of the time a part of that intention bullet list, right? But one of the unexpected, most wonderful gifts, life-changing gifts that has happened to me since coaching with 380 Ideal Health Studio and the Ideal Protein treatment is my parents. I was blessed with, I say, four wonderful parents.
Yep.
Great mom, phenomenal stepdad, great dad, great stepmom, just blessed beyond measure with having four parents that, love me so unconditionally.
Amazing. Yeah.
That they too saw my transformation, my amazing transformation.
Yep.
And each one of them had their own personal interest in pursuing an Ideal Protein journey. Fortunately, two of my parents didn't have health issues that were associated with their weight, but they needed to lose weight. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They did the protocol with us. They got healthy. They're doing phenomenal in maintenance. They do plug in for that education. They didn't just, ghost me in the way of treatment. They understood, the value of that. They're both doing wonderfully 3 years out. And another one of my parents was a 30+ year type 2 diabetic.
Wow.
Yep. And it's amazing. He has lost 85 pounds. He's off of a lot of different prescription medications.
Yep.
And living his best life. And I never thought I will always be my parents' child. I will always be their daughter, and that's a role that I serve in. Try not to get emotional, Dr. Barnes.
Nope. Yep.
And as we get older, as children, we want to do for our parents. We want to step up for them in the way that they've always been there for us. So when I get a text from my dad, because that's who this was, of his Fitbit with almost 20,000 steps on it at Disneyland, and he's in his late 60s. Talk about generational health.
Right.
Has he gotten the years? Yeah, he's getting them. Has the quality of those years been improved? Beyond measure.
Yeah.
Beyond measure. And it is such an emotional, humbling thing. And my stepmom, go ahead.
And I'm sure beyond what he ever imagined possible. I mean, if you're 30 years diabetic, you've got to think, unfortunately, again, it's been my experience that most people, once they get the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, that they just think it seems like they're taught it's a progressive degenerative disease that can only get worse, not better. And that you manage with medications and more medications. Right. And that's just, it's so far from the truth. And that's one of the things that I hope that we get real good at messaging, is that, you can improve the quality of a type 2 diabetic's life tremendously, just unbelievably. And like you said, especially if they're grandparents, there are those years where you're going to go to Disney with your grandchildren, or you're going to do all those things that you might not have even gotten to if you don't give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been an outdoorsy guy, and my stepmom did the protocol, type 1 diabetic. By the end of her journey, her daily insulin dependency was down over 65%. That
Which
was never going to be a part of her story.
and again, just an amazing experience, because I think a lot of people just discount type 1 diabetics, right? And it's just not the case. And the whole idea that, unfortunately, a lot of them were brought up to eat whatever the heck they wanted and then just dose themselves with insulin. Well,
Right.
90% of the associated degenerative diseases that go along with that are from high insulin levels. So it doesn't matter if it's your body pumping out that insulin or if you're pumping it into your body. That's what creates we're finding out all of the insulin resistance and related issues. So it really behooves them to get a hold of those carbs and keep that dose as low as possible to live their best, healthiest life.
Absolutely. And it is something that, especially here in the United States, that you get that kind of diagnosis and it's alarming, right? But, it's easy to kind of go into the thought process of, well, my grandfather was, or my mom is, and I'm that age.
Right.
I'm
Oh, it
that
just
age.
comes along with it. It comes along with it.
Don't drop the age bomb on me. We're going to be here a while. But it is so true. And that at that moment when, I couldn't have had a more personal touch on someone's ideal protein experience than my own parents, I realized I want generational health up and down the spectrum. Right. And, since then I've had, the pleasure of having plenty of grandmas, grandpas, do the protocol with us, get healthy, address chronic disease. So it really, there's no one who doesn't qualify in the way of wanting to live their best life, right?
Right.
And it's an opportunity, right? We'll assess the opportunity if it's viable. Most cases, yes, right?
Most cases, yes. Yep.
And I just can't express enough how much everybody deserves to give themselves the experience firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. This has been so much fun. Like I said, there's so much in your story that I feel like people can connect to on an everyday basis, and hopefully you've inspired them to get off the sidelines and to work on taking down some of those barriers that they've put in their own way, so that they can get started on this journey, or so that they can actually continue through and see it to the end, because it's so worth it. So worth it.
Absolutely, it is. And if some of the broadcasting audience wants to drop a comment after watching the interview with some of their barriers, what are their perceived barriers, right? Let's go ahead and start a conversation on working through those. Or coaches, clinic owners, what are the barriers that you hear most? How do you help your clients overcome those barriers? Because a lot of times it just takes a little shift in our perception to create a new reality.
Yep. Oh, there's one last Wendyism. I love it. I love it. Oh yeah, no, and I thank you for saying that too. We've enjoyed quite a bit of sharing on Facebook, and the word is getting out, and we're seeing that it's clients, clinic owners, and coaches who are watching and listening the podcast.
Yeah.
And, I think everybody is benefiting from this. I know I do. I go back and listen. Wait, what did she say again? What did Wendy say about, so that I can use that stuff in my daily practice.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Barnes, for even doing this. It's amazing how much the evolution can bring to our lives. Like your story. I love your story. Your opening slide. I cringe at my opening slide, right? Fat, sick, and depressed. Every time I see that intro, I'm like, oh, I was too. But on the other side of that, look at what can happen. I mean, seriously. Yep. So for this to be a part of your story and your journey and what it has done for your life and the Life Possible podcast, it's wonderful. And I thank you for giving back to the community in such a passionate, invested way that's adding undeniable value. And, we may never know,
thank you,
what that value is on a one-to-one basis, but there's a ripple effect to everything that you're doing. And I'm just so grateful to have been invited for a seat at the table, and that it worked out this time.
No, absolutely.
So thank you, Dr. Barnes. You're doing an amazing job.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate all the minutes that you've given me over the past 2 weeks
We've had a great time. I
for
mean,
us to get this done.
it's
Well,
been
and
wonderful.
truly, when all this stuff is over with this pandemic, I so hope that I can get all these people into one room. I would love to just kind of be with everybody who's been on the show and get all of us together, because
Yeah.
it's quite a group, and it's just neat to be a part of such a group. So let's cross our fingers for that soon.
Yep.
All right.
Fingers crossed.
All right. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm going to
Barnes.
send you backstage for a little bit
Okay.
while I bring this thing home.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being patient with us as we got out this show for you. It took a little while, but certainly well worthwhile. Wendy White-Stevens has so much great experience, and her clients are so lucky to have her. And I hope that you found something in this show that resonated deep within you to help make the decision to pursue life possible using the Ideal Protein Protocol. If you think that the show may help a friend or a family member who's struggling with weight issues, health problems, and motivation, please pass it on to them. If you've made the decision to start the Ideal Protein program and you're in Northern Virginia near the Centerville area, please look me and my team up at Barnes Chiropractic Health and Fitness. And if you're in North Texas in Aubrey, please look up Wendy at the 380 Ideal Health Studio. And you can start your journey. If you're not close to either one of us, go to the Ideal Protein website, idealprotein.com. Use the clinic locator function to find a clinic that's near you. So as always, I am working on future episodes, and I am currently working on the next episode. I am not ready to announce who my next guest or guests are going to be, but I'm crossing my fingers, and I really hope that this next show comes together. I think it's a really neat concept, and I know that everybody is going to enjoy it. So let's see, it's going to be a little less than a week and a half. I will get to work on that so that we'll have that next week. Until then, keep chasing life possible.